Okay, I can crack through the window here like a train engineer or something. So I promised you rule-based improvisation. You could make a rule, because when I teach piano students, I teach them follow a new rule every day to get them to maximize their learning rate, including like exercising their rule following ability, right? Because then they can start to gradually author their own sound by choosing rules themselves, like be the author of the physics of some universe that they design. Um, but the rules could be about different things. They could be about fingers. They could be about distances. Like you could have a rule that says just use your thumb. Yeah, and you could have a rule that says always use your thumb and pointer alternating.
But then you only have two thumbs.
Well, I can. Do you doubt that I could work with one thumb only? I mean, it's a constraint, right? So, with one thumb only, you violate a rule called the new finger rule, which is that you should always switch fingers. So it's not the best exercise, but it's an interesting exercise. I usually tell students to start with at least two fingers. But with a finger rule, you could have an ordered constraint. You could say, well, use fingers 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 repeatedly, or you could say use fingers 1, 2, and 3 unordered.
So those rules are there to inspire creativity for you.
Yeah, there's actually a statement from composer Igor Stravinsky: the more one constrains oneself, the more one frees oneself. And I learned this statement from a book on programming, not from a music book. But they quoted Stravinsky. It's a book called Constraint Handling Rules. And it's just a kind of constraint programming. And so you can just think of it like a system of equations. And so you're adding constraints. And when there's only one solution, you're no longer improvising. But when there's multiple solutions, you're still improvising because you're picking a solution to the system of equations. And so I'm glad you guys follow that version of the explanation. Everyone understands that version of the explanation. People are like, what do you mean system of equations? I'm like, remember high school? Anyway. So you can have an ordered constraint like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you're choosing the pitches. Because basically you want to constrain one thing and leave something else up to intuition. And that's what you can't do with a purely computer rule-based AI. You need a human in the loop if you want to do that approach where one dimension has a constraint on it and the other dimension is unconstrained and chosen intuitively. So like for instance, if it's a finger pattern, like here's a simple example, 3, 2, 1 repeatedly, I could do with any notes. So here's an example of all 3, 2, 1. Like make sure that you know what you're doing by checking the numbers, like 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So that's a completely ordered finger constraint. But if it was unordered, you could have 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, or whatever. You could do it unordered. That's a finger constraint. You could have a constraint about fingers. You could have a constraint about distances. You could have a constraint about locations, like only use these notes. And a scale is like a location constraint. And then you could have timing constraints for like what rhythms to use and so on. So like here's an example. Pick two numbers that are 12 or less. 5 and 7. Oh, you picked one each. How polite. Okay, so here's how. So there's different ways you can interpret that. The first way I'm going to interpret that as harmonic distances, the distances between two notes in a chord at the same time. So basically, I also interpret it as ordered. So basically, I have to play a 7 and then a 5 and then a 7 and then a 5. But I get to pick which 7 and which 5. So. You can do weirder stuff as well. 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. So there the constraint is just on the harmonic distances. And if I interpret that as melodic distances, it would be I'd have to take a note and go up or down 5, and then up or down 7. So I'm going to go up 5, down 7, up 5, down 7, down 5, down 7, up 5, up 7. So that's interpreting it as melodic distances. Yeah. Pick another. I'll do one more movement.